Students at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill voiced their frustration with campus emergency procedures, and LA Fitness faces a lawsuit over disability discrimination allegations. This and more on today's episode of the Disability News Report.
This is the Disability News Report with host Arthur Aston.
College is now back in session, and Hurricane Helene devastated parts of southeastern United States last month. Tornado warnings were issued at the campus of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill during the storm. These warnings made students aware of how the emergency procedures on campus need to be improved to serve the disability community at the college a lot better. The UNC campus safety website states that individuals with disabilities who may need assistance during emergencies should develop their own evacuation plans. The website contains guidelines on how to assess evacuation options, enlist the help of bystanders, and inform others of their needs. A student named Kyra Tiller notes that having students create their own evacuation plan is severely flawed. Kyra has epilepsy, a condition that causes seizures. These seizures can be brought on by the flashing lights that often accompany alarms like fire alarms. She created an evacuation plan for herself that involves having her roommate or another student who lives in the dorm building assist her by guiding her out of the building, as Kyra will need to close her eyes to avoid the flashing lights from potentially causing a seizure when the alarm is going off. Kyra notes that there is no emergency plan for when she is in the academic buildings or somewhere else on campus that also may have the flashing lights during the alarms. Students are suggesting that it would be beneficial if there were other students and staff members on campus who were trained to assist those with disabilities in case of an emergency. The UNC campus safety website also states that individuals with disabilities who may find themselves unable to safely evacuate during an emergency should shelter in place in a secure location or seek a designated area of refuge, which are specific rooms built into some of the stairwells on campus. These rooms can fit a wheelchair and contain a two-way walkie-talkie style communication system that is linked to the fire alarm control room, according to the university's Environment, Health, and Safety Manual. The concern that students have is that having students get to the area of refuge can be an issue if the disabled person is unable to use the stairs because of their disability or if the elevator is broken to get to that area of refuge. With the two recent hurricanes, Helene and Milton, that caused such devastation in so many states across the country, we wanted to make sure that we were highlighting a story like this to bring attention to the disability community to make sure that they are not forgotten during these types of emergencies. Our next story is To Boldly Go. John McFall hopes to be the first astronaut with a disability. The European Space Agency is testing to see how conditions in space would affect Paralympian sprinter John McFall and his prosthesis. John lost his right leg at the age of 19 in a motorcycle accident, and in addition to being a Paralympic sprinter, winning bronze in Beijing, John is also a trauma and orthopedic surgeon. After a 3-year process that included 6 stages, that involved an hours-long psychomotor test, John is on track to be the first astronaut with a disability. There is no guarantee that he will actually go into space, but the testing that John is going through and the training that he is going through with others, it is as if they were preparing to be on a 6-month mission to the International Space Station. The hope is that by the end of this decade, Mr. McFall or someone else with a similar disability will be able to take a space flight. This story is encouraging for those of us living with disabilities because it has started a conversation about what we can do and what is possible for space missions and people with disabilities who want to apply to be astronauts. The European Space Agency is not saying you can't do this because of your disability. They are saying it may be possible, we just don't know yet because nobody has ever done it before. This has also sparked a conversation regarding euphemisms. Should Mr. McFall be called a parastronaut? In response to this, John has said, I'm not a parasurgeon, I'm a surgeon. I am not a para-dad, I'm a dad. He described it as a slippery slope to add para in front of anything that someone with a physical disability does. He goes on to say, and I think that if we continue to use it, it probably continues to create a divide which isn't necessary. We wish John and all of the future people with disabilities who might apply to be astronauts the best of luck in whatever it is they choose to do. It is so encouraging to see this story make the news. Our next story is LA Fitness faces federal lawsuit over disability discrimination allegations. The fitness company LA Fitness is facing a lawsuit by the federal government for allegedly discriminating against people with disabilities at their facilities. The company is accused of violating the Americans with Disabilities Act by failing to provide people with disabilities the equal access to its services and facilities. LA Fitness is also accused of charging extra fees to their disabled members. These extra fees were charged to the disabled patrons for their guests, friends, nurses, and personal assistants who were there to help the disabled patron use the facilities. It was noted by one U.S. attorney that we saw people who couldn't access the pool, people who couldn't access the jacuzzi or shower facilities. One individual couldn't even access the entrance. LA Fitness has over 700 facilities across the country, and through this lawsuit, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, is hopeful to put a stop to the discrimination and to create changes that will allow people with disabilities to be able to fully participate in all aspects of the facilities provided by LA Fitness. A spokesperson for LA Fitness released a statement saying, ensuring all members and guests are welcome to our clubs is of paramount importance at LA Fitness. The company takes its obligation to comply with ADA seriously and promptly responds to any ADA issues. We intend to vigorously defend against this action. We will keep you updated on any new developments on this story and the lawsuit against LA Fitness. Our final story is voters with disabilities are feeling ignored by presidential candidates. The United States is less than 1 month away from Election Day, when we will elect our new President of the United States. A new report from Rutgers University in New Jersey estimated that 40.2 million eligible voters in the United States are disabled. This includes 7.1 million disabled voters in the battleground states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. While health care remains a major topic of both presidential campaigns, disability and the well-being of those in the disability community are rarely discussed by either candidate. Campaign materials, including flyers and ads, and also campaign events, are often inaccessible to those with disabilities, and these are just some of the issues that disabled voters have found in both presidential campaigns that needs to be improved. Some additional challenges that those in the disability community face when voting are inaccessible voting locations and voting by mail procedures that are not accessible or inclusive. These obstructions can lead to less participation from those in the disability community when it comes time to vote. Another area that the disabled community would like for both candidates to focus on and address is the length of time that it takes to get approved for disability benefits. This is currently a wait time of 6 to 8 months. Vice President Kamala Harris has met with leaders in the disability space about transportation issues in the past, and more recently, as part of her presidential campaign, eliminating sub-minimum wage for disabled workers. The election is quickly approaching, and we want to encourage everyone to get out and vote and to create a plan for voting. Review the rules for voting by mail so that you know your rights and what you are allowed to do if you need someone to assist you with the voting by mail process. And also, if you're voting in person, be sure to research ahead of time the accessibility of your polling location and create a plan that includes your travel arrangements to and from your polling locations. We thank you for watching this episode of the Disability News Report.
This is the Disability News Report with host Arthur Aston.